Alright, hello. My name is Passant. I guess we're gonna get right into it with the race. So it'll be interesting to see how this race goes. As far as pure PB times, Tortellini, his PB is really good. It's sub 40. Argick is less so, but Argick is also an experienced classic Sonic runner, so he definitely has the skills. Depending on what happens, it could be a close race. So immediately we get into City Escape. It's all over the boarding section, which isn't too interesting. Just don't break. I don't know anyone that would ever break. So we see Tortellini on the right side here going for the City Escape skip. He only goes for it once, and he doesn't get it. Basically, you fly off that ramp, and then you fly off the speed pad while still being in the ramp state where you're flying. You go out of bounds and land down here. Actually, come on, you land farther than that. So you're gonna see a lot of tech in this stage involving spin dashing and then unrolling the spin dash. That's because if Sonic moves too quickly, he will go flying off a ledge, or maybe not a ledge, like a ramp, whenever he goes on it. And so by unrolling the spin dash at the right time, the game reads the input and won't send him flying off the ledge, because he's also used for somersault. And you actually see another trick later involving somersaulting and spin dashing interaction. Totally hitting the truck stage. It's basically a lot of that same ramp stuff, ramp stuff, but you can't actually see the ramps, so you just gotta memorize the timing. Each time you go off a ramp like that, or slope's a better word. Every time you go slow off like that, it loses 3 seconds, as opposed to when you're not doing it. So you actually see pretty large differences in times between people who know how to do it and people who don't. So 2 of 5, 2 of 17, definitely not bad for their times.
Too easy, piece of cake.
Next up we have Bigfoot. This boss is a way to kill it early with a quick homing attack at the very beginning, and then using a somersault to get into the box that's right next to it that you can see on screen right now. You can kill him in about 20 seconds. Frame perfect is a 2154, but I don't think I have to worry about that. And you lose a lot of time if you don't get it. So Argick needs to make sure that he gets it, which unfortunately he doesn't. So that's 6 seconds. And there is more seconds. And Tortellini's stream, we see Wild Canyon, which is the first of the Knuckle stages, and they're actually RNG based because you have to find these emerald pieces, and then there's only a certain amount of them, but there's 100 in total. And which ones you get can determine a lot of things. So right now, Argick just got a really good first piece right at the start, while Tortellini had to go on the railway, which is one of the slowest pieces in the stage because you have to move that rock. So Argick is actually going to catch up a little bit here because he got some pretty good RNG.
I found him.
Next up we have Eggman 1, which is a really easy fight. You just kind of shoot him, and he just walks into your bullets. But there's still actually, it's not completely simple. It's not like Dead Brain. You still can manipulate his movement a little bit to get a lower time, and times can range from 1284, really good time. Upper range is closer to 16, 17 seconds. Assuming nothing really weird happens, which it definitely can. And now we have Prison Lane, which is all based around shooting enemies to open gates. So it's about knowing which enemies you need to shoot and shooting them as fast as possible. Once again, small time losses for not doing it, but they add up because there's quite a few doors in this stage. Next up, we see a gate hop, which is hopping on that. I guess it's a gate. I think we're about to work. That's a fence, really. It's like a prison fence, and then skipping the elevator box thing. And then you see currently getting on the back of the elevator shaft, and he does that so we can again shoot some enemies through walls to open the gates in this section faster. Argick unfortunately missing the gate hop. That cost a few seconds. But it's not too terrible. Yeah, and the other thing you see people doing in Tails stages is that they would jump instead of turning. And that's because Tails is in a big mech, which has a lot of momentum if you think about physics. I mean, granted, thinking about accurate physics in this game is not a good idea. You quickly find yourself... It's not good. You can see more, we'll see more of that later. Basically, he slows down a lot if he makes too sharp of a turn, and so if you can jump to retain his momentum. So that we have Metal Harbor, which employs some different skill. Like, it's pretty interesting. Like, most of the skills in this game, or most of the stages in this game, have different, like, they show off different tricks. Like, it's not really like the same thing over and over. So Metal Harbor is that we see a lot of what's called a spin dash jump. Spin dash makes you go fast, and jumps makes you go up. So going fast up is pretty good. Later you get something else that lets you go really up, really fast. But right now it's just about clearing these large gaps over the water by doing spin dash jumps.
That was easy.
We also have that trick I mentioned earlier, which is called storage. And basically, when you press B, the game puts you in a somersault state without doing a somersault animation. So you can go under those low, not really sure what to call them, like the small gaps you're supposed to somersault under without having to do the somersault and saving some time. You can also do it to skip the rocket. There are those panels down there. You can use a few of them to get up to the spring. Some of them are faster than others, some of them are riskier than others. But they're all not too bad. I'm unfortunately missing going around the loop there, the half loop. But he's on pretty good pace right now. 22 checks, not bad. Unfortunately, well, the rocket's not doing. We check paces by doing looking at the checkpoints. There are other things where like the time's clearly marked. 109's okay. It's not very good, but it's not like awful. I can not talk about Argick right now because Tortellini is in the only unskippable cutscene in the game, which is like a minute 30, the Faker cutscene. In the Shadow 1 fight, it's difficult but short. You have to, if you know what you're doing, it can be within like 11 seconds, but it's pretty easy. If Shadow doesn't cooperate, to get up to like 20 or even 30. Basically how it works is that you have to hit him from the backside, or like you control your jumping so that he doesn't jump, because he's in red roll when he jumps. Or to hit him quickly.
Phew. So far, so good. Hey, that's...
That blue hedgehog again, of all places.
I found you, faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh? You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words.
There's no time to play games. You won't even get the chance. I'm the coolest.
Next up, we have Green Forest. It's a lot like Metal Harbor in a way. I don't know if Tortellini, there's some pretty advanced tricks that let you run on walls. I don't know if Tortellini will go for it. They're really hard. Like they're kind of. I mean, yeah, it's running on a wall. You're not supposed to run on walls in this game. That's not until Unleashed when that becomes a regular thing.
What are you doing? Hurry and get back here right now before the island blows up.
And so it looks like he doesn't. That's okay. He just has the lead. He doesn't have to worry about it. Basically how the trick would work is that you do what's called a gravity bounce. And then, because the game, when you're on a loop, the game switches your gravity to be on the loop to make sure you don't fall off. And you can trick the game by going on a loop and then, by going on the edge of a loop and then jumping off of it. And it'll keep your gravity changed. And you can go into a wall and your gravity will be changed to the wall. You may see it later in the next stalling stage, Pyramid Cave. Totally having a pretty clean Green Forest. Argick's looking pretty good right now, though. Or two, though. I unfortunately missed both of their Shadow 1 times. It was one of me in 2 streams, I'm sorry. So now we have the next Knuckle stage, which is Pumpkin Hill. The game actually, so you get an upgrade here that lets you dig into the ground, and the game will actually only spawn final pieces that are in the ground until you grab it, in order to force you to get the upgrade, which is a pretty neat trick. It also means that there's some really bad pieces in this stage when I'm moving on the trains that have really small hitboxes, so they're hard to get, and they don't spawn, thankfully, because of this. But it also means there are no free pieces on the stage, except for one, which is a really rare piece. So Argick is performing a trick that lets you skip a loop and a bungee section. I believe it's called bungee skip. It saves you a good 20 seconds just by doing a spin nose jump in the right spot and falling off. Overall, he's had a really good Green Forest as well. I think it's up 2 minutes is pretty decent for someone at a skill level.
Huh, no problem.
This place sure feels haunted. There's no time to lose. I have to hurry and find the Master Emerald.
When you see what kind of RNG Argick gets, Pumpkin Hill was probably, I'd say, the stage with, well, third most time loss. Varying. Second or third, depending on... Meteor Herd can be very picky, but we will get to that later. Tortellini is now in Mission Street, and the stage is basically elevator cycles to stage. There are a couple of places where you need to get good cycles. And the first of which is here. By going up top, he can stop part of the road from falling on the bottom, which lets them go just fast enough and get a really good pause hover jump, which I will explain next, to then get in the wait early. And basically, this is also when he gets the hovering. I don't remember what it's called, the booster. So some hover, which the way the game is programmed, if you jump and then hover immediately, you gain a load of extra height, which lets you clear some jumps you're not supposed to, like that one right there.
It's closer.
Argick seemed to be having a little bit of trouble with the stage, which is totally, what's the word? Which makes sense. The stage, I think, is the hardest for me personally. I'm not sure. I've seen the other people that have troubles with it too. Even with the limited pieces that I described earlier, a lot of them are. And there's some with similar hints. They're in really different locations. The stage is pretty big and wide open, which a lot of the other, most of the other knuckle stages aren't. So it's about being able to orient yourself on the stage and remember which piece is on which mountain. So it looks like I was talking about so the big cycle in Mission Street happened right before that last checkpoint. There's like a weight in the back that's used for the Mystic Melody, or at least it's supposed to. Again, with a good hover jump, you can actually get over there and ride it up early. Because he got the early weight at the beginning of the level, he can go for something that's called Zero Cycle. I'm not sure if he got it. He may have gone for a Hive Cycle, which is the ones in the front that you're supposed to go on. Or it's supposed to. I mean, this is speedrunning. You're really supposed to do anything. So 2:13 is a really good time. I do believe that is half cycle, and not not zero cycle. The difference is only 3 seconds, but it's a pretty noticeable 3 seconds. And then between a zero cycle and the first cycle or the second cycle, it's 13. And it's called Zero Cycle because we didn't originally think it was possible, and turns out it is. But totally ending a quadrant fine. There are a few pieces we can look for in that little intro cutscene, so I guess like, not all of them are skippable. But that's the only one that's like actually long. He didn't get any, unfortunately. His RNG's actually been kind of so far. Not having to go to the Ghost Room yet is good. Actually, no, that's pretty good. 40 is not a bad time. But definitely worse things that can happen, especially with the water level and going on the like a side path. That's pretty finicky. Argick, with a nice save, got hit by a bomb, but still managed to get onto the platform or onto the elevator. Looks like he got second cycle, second and a half maybe, or no, not second half because he got it. I think that's second cycle, maybe third cycle. Unfortunately, I'm not like extremely super knowledgeable on like all the small time saves yet. So totally now enters Route 101, which is the basically 2-minute stage with about 15 seconds of time variance. Basically how it works is that you have to. The only real trick in the stage is that you can do this thing. I call it swerving. Some people call it like drifting, or there's a few names. But basically, you go swerving left and right like this, which removes your normal speed cap. Just do like a regular speed cap, but you can go, but you retain. Your speed isn't fixed. Like usually, you just hold A and you go a certain speed. Doing it this way, any momentum gains or losses are kept. So if you hit walls and cars and going slow, you can go even slower than you would be before. If you're boosting and going down hills, you can go a lot faster, and so it goes to keep doing that. And you have to keep moving left and right, wiggling like this, because otherwise you'll lose the state and go back to being normal driving. It also gives you slightly sharper turns. You have to start them earlier because you're like pretty slippery. Already having a bit of trouble with this first piece, which is metal bone luggage area. It's in a corner. That's the restart over it, which is kind of fair. I was at the top, so it would take a while to get to anyway. I'm not sure if he knew that. A lot of Aquatic Mine's a bit finicky because of how small it is. Like there are lots of pieces that start with green radar, And the radar is really important in this game.
It's closer.
And you have to like figure out where they are based off of how long the radar stays green, if it goes yellow, or if it turns off. There are also some pieces that start with no radar, in which case you need to get the hint early because there are a couple that you resign. It's basically, it is very complicated due to how small it is.
It's closer.
And I'm unfortunately getting a really bad second piece. Container on the shelf. I can see it's in the corner of this room here. It's off to the side. It takes a long time to get to. Yeah, so Argick RNG in this stage was really bad. Especially compared to Tortellini's. Having to go into the ghost room and then go into this other side path, which is on the other side of the stage.
It's closer.
Tortellini throwing a hidden base here. There are a lot of strats that you can do. From right where he was, where you hop on top of those big boxes. You also go for one called Axle Jump, which unfortunately he didn't get. The Slime Tape is, I won't say it's comparable, but it's not actually that big for how different they are and how difficult they can be. I wasn't sure which one he'd go for, like, because different people are comfortable with different things. So Argick entering Route 101. Yeah, so it's not a lot of, as I said earlier, it's not a lot of time variance, but there's still some. Also about hitting cars and walls and making sure you collect rings to have a boost. Geronimo gets a 102 checkpoint there, which is... Okay, I thought it was a different checkpoint. But he looks to be on pretty good pace. Though missing the jump at the beginning is unfortunate. Yeah, 182 at that checkpoint isn't bad at all. And with more hover jumps, you can just go out of bounds because the developers, and we also at the beginning of the stage too. The developers didn't expect you to get there, and so in order to save on processing power, they just don't have collision there because this game was made in 2001. Actually, it's technically made in 2000, released in the Dreamcast.
Tails, did you find the president?
Almost, Sonic. Just a few more minutes.
In case you're wondering, no, the time limit in Route 101's not a concern. As you can see, he's at 9 seconds and has been there for like half a minute. So now Tortellini's entering Pyramid Cave, which is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a really technical stage. Probably Sonic's hardest stage. Another kind of combination, it's got like some of the wide openness of Metal Harbor, but also a lot of walls and things you can bounce off of. Especially because right here he gets what's called a bounce blitz, which lets you fly. Oh, okay. I have this cool setup. Basically, you see it here. It lets you. Okay, it lets you do what's called a super bounce, which lets you go really high. And they can be pretty technical to pull off, especially you see in a couple of stages, or during a boss fight later, where you have a really small frame window, because you have to bounce before you hit a wall, and then it'll work. So you just have to go up above the first door, and the second door you can just clip right through if you stand in a certain spot. Getting it first try is really good. And also next we're going for a skip called a snake skip, which is just like gravity bounce technique that I was talking about. So you can fly sideways, land on a wall, and then make it back into the stage. Argick going for an alternate setup for the boxes here. You can do a really good hover jump just from the main path. And he's also going for, it seems, Same thing. It'd be interesting to see if he goes for what's called the Axel jump, named after Axel, which is the player that discovered it. He doesn't, and so it's not going to be comparable to Tortellini's at the beginning. Taking it nice and easy. Especially at the beginning here, that sand kills you, and so messing up tricks that go over the sand can be really punishing. I know from experience I died a lot to it. I'm totally finishing up with a 157, which is... I'm pretty sure it's really good. I will admit that I'm not a top level runner, and that as I said earlier, I don't know the exact times for everything yet. I know a lot of the tricks. I can tell you a lot about the game's physics. And about Knuckles. Starting Death Chamber. Death Chamber, it has the, if you don't know where the pieces are, it has a huge amount of time loss. Tortellini's actually getting a second hint here because there are two pieces that have the hint Golden Goddess, and they're in completely different locations. But as you can see, the stage is kind of like it's not a maze. Like everything is corridors, long corridors. So going to the wrong placement, you have to backtrack all the way back. You're actually going to take a death here. There are a lot of second pieces that are near the starting point, which is in the red area, and so when you get one in green or blue, you can die and hope to get a good one that spawns. Argick has a pretty good hidden base. I wasn't watching it that closely, but his time isn't bad. Especially for having not done any, tried to go for any of the big steps at the beginning.
I did it!
Anyway, there haven't been any huge mistakes on either part. They're both playing it safe, which makes sense because it's a marathon setting. You don't need the PB. It looks like Tortellini takes a second death. And then there's a thing called Booty Clip, which is you go out of bounds to get into these secret areas, which otherwise take a long time to get to, like, as usual, because of the long corridors. Actually having a lot of trouble grabbing this last piece that moves in the sand, probably called Flying Fish in the Sand. So 129 is, yeah, that's pretty poor. That's also just in-game time without including the two deaths that you took. Argick unfortunately messing up this trick at the beginning that lets you go flying in the air. It is a pretty finicky trick though. It's one I know I have troubles with too at times. Normally coming up on King Boom Boo. There's a trick that saves a couple of seconds at the beginning called Fireball Skip. I don't think he's going for it. Yeah, he's definitely not going for it. Not a lot of people do. Now we're going for an alternate setup for the first door clip. You can either bounce right next to the door, which can be risky because if you hit the door, you can't spin that. You can't super bounce off of it. So going for an alternate setup, which works first try, which is good. And getting first try gore clip, that's really good too. Meanwhile, King Boom Boom is already dead. Douglas and Rouge actually had the fastest ground speed in this game, faster than Sonic and Shadow. So you can actually, by taking the inner circle of King Boom's arena, you can actually... Oh, Argick actually taking a death, but he also just got a checkpoint, so loses middle time. Anyway, you can actually keep up with him and just keep hitting him, King Boom Boo. Which is it, not him. This is the boss that's talking about on the right, a golem, which has the really hard super bounces. You have to get a super bounce off those really small ledges, which is pretty hard to do in order to get up to the top. Unfortunately, another thing with this boss is if you move around too much, it's saying what attack to do. You do what we call ballerinaing. He sweeps around in a circle, which loses a lot of time if you can't get super bounces, because it's a long attack. Alright, getting 233-ish, plus a few seconds from the death. Which is not bad either.
Huh. No problem.
Now we coming up on his own death saber. It'd be interesting to see. Yeah, because you lose the most time, but it also means you get the highest, well, second highest, variance in times based off of whether your RNG is good or bad. Argick gets a pretty bad first piece. Position storage is really, it's far away. And it doesn't seem like he knows where it is, which is, again, we can lose a lot of time. Oh wait, now, see, now I'm getting confused. There's a piece that's really bad. It's called junk storage. There's a storage that's actually not that bad, because it's right here in the green room, or in this hallway. Let's go to the core. You know, Tortellini is on a really good piece in Eternal Engine. This is where you see the first major skip, this one that's viable for runs. When you did get an early cycle here, I think. Early cycle I get, I'm not sure. I want to make a checkpoint, which you got earlier, which is pretty good. And so, with the Eternal Engine skip, you just flip out of bounds using a door. Well, there are a couple of methods of doing it. I think you did the door method. Using that tank at the wall, you can move out of bounds. And then you just get pushed out either by the tank or by the door as it opens. And then you can fly straight to the glow ring. And Argick gets really bad RNG. Going from green back to blue and then into a secret room, which is in between red room and green room. Means going across the entire stage twice. He does not go for the booty clip that we saw Tortellini do earlier for his secret room piece. I think it's actually slightly slower if you don't get it first try, so I guess that's kind of understandable.
I found him.
Yeah, this is perfect.
And so now totally moving into the last Longwood stage. And I think this one has the greatest variance just because of how big it is. You know, it's also open like Pumpkin Hill.
Who's there?
The way the stage is set out, everything's kind of in a T shape. You have the bottom level, which is really huge, and then going up, you don't really. It gets a lot smaller. It's a smaller area in the center here. There's a good, at least only half the size of the bottom area. Tortellini, unable to find the piece, goes for the restart, which is unfortunate because he didn't get the piece at the top of the stage. He seems to be unaware of where this one is either. And then he gets hit by a meteor and may potentially die again. They just called meteor hurt, so there are meteors that can like snipe you when you're not expecting it. Okay, he seems to have figured it out. Argick also getting the first cycle, which is really good. He's not even. Argick doesn't go for the super bounces, which I can totally get. I try for them, and I never get them. Which usually winds up losing time over just doing it the regular way. Yeah, and that's another unfortunate thing about Golem is, especially after that first hit, sometimes the spines on his back that you climb up take too long, and then he'll get another hit in. On Tortellini's stream, we see the Knuckles vs. Rouge fight, which are also trends of the character fights being really short, but only if you do them correctly. At 19 seconds, there's the shutter on the big tower that's right, that's the floor. It'll open up, and then you guys go flying in the air and have to use the support beams on the side. So you can avoid that. You can avoid that by not by dying. Basically, you just like use hyper aggressive. When you're in the air, Root's RNG doesn't really know what to do. So you just jump and drill claw and jump and drill claw, and you just keep attacking her. You do have to have good timing though, otherwise she will get a stealth kick in, and you can potentially die if you don't have a safety ring, or even if you do, if that happens more than once. Argick had a good egg golem. I'm trying to keep up with both at the same time. 115 is not bad. Especially with the extra hit there. I'm totally eventually ending up with a 16, which is, I mean, yeah, it's pretty standard. Because you have to have that low time in order to not get a really high time. And so totally entering Crazy Gadget, which there are two skips here. There's Crazy Gadget skip, and there's Crazy Gadget skip. We're just calling it such because it starts in the same place, but skips more of the stage. It goes directly to the end goal as opposed to doing some setups before going to the end goal. I don't know which one he's going to be going for, if any. Argick appears to be on a good pace for EE. There's some cycles with those. Yeah, with those moving platforms with the missile area. He does avoid triggering that weight, which loses like 10 seconds because it has to fall, and then you hit a switch to hit it back up. I totally went for CGSS. It was a really precise spin dash jump out of bounds to avoid some kill planes. Argick barely making that cycle, that's good. And it looks like he goes for, totally he's not going for regular CGS because he failed it. Going for some safety strats. But it's cool, you just see both of them, in a way. Argick does the door strat, gets out first try. Timing, pretty good run. Or pretty good stage, I'd say. And Turtley is going to the stage sideways. And so you're falling on the wall, and it can be pretty hard to have to deal with because you're not supposed to be falling on a wall. The game doesn't really know how to handle it, you have to gain control. And then you clip out of bounds, go through a wall. He seems to be... oh, never mind. He seems to be low. You have to have a pretty good aim, especially with CGSS, commit to CGS, where you miss a go ring and die, because there's a death plane that you hit beforehand. If his audio is up, you hear someone go, no, yes. So Argick taking it super safe at the end here.
I did it!
Because I can see, the camera isn't very nice to you. Especially if your positioning's off, because, you know, you're out of bounds. Like, what are you expecting?
Next time.
Totally on the Eggman 2 fight. Again, following the trend of fast if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you pretty much die. Eggman's got very powerful attacks that he uses often. You actually, even though you see that monstrous health bar, you only have to hit him 4 times with your bullets. Because you have to avoid his laser, which takes out half of your health bar. And one shot, and of course he aims it right at you. So the second part goes pretty cleanly.
It's closer.
Argick just barely making that platform. Meteorhead is like a kind of divide between these lower platforms and upper ones that involves either taking a rocket at the bottom, or like shooting a missile to break a switch. So if he had fallen, that could have caused problems for him, but he didn't. Unsure of what the second piece is. And this is what I was talking about. It's just faster to go down to the rocket, but still, loses time over it not falling. Tortellini, now on Final Rush, there are also 2 skips here. there's final rush skip, and then there's fast final rush skip. He's not going for fast final rush skip. Almost no one does. It's got like a 10% consistency rate because you literally go through a kill plane and not die, which makes no sense because it doesn't make sense. Argick getting the same piece that Tortellini got. That messed both of them up. It's kind of funny. So we'll see. Yep, it's totally going for regular final rush skip. There's two strats here. One that involves bouncing, one that doesn't. The one that doesn't bounce saves like 2 seconds, but some people swear by it.
It's closer. I found him.
And basically, you go really far out using a gravity bounce, or changing your gravity, because rails change your gravity too, to avoid a kill plane, and then you turn around, go back the other way to avoid another kill plane. You avoid a few kill planes actually, and also you can't see any of them, so you have to do all this blind. Once you figure out the method for it, runners consider it one of the easier skips, but it looks really cool. Just fall, do nothing for a while, then surprise you at the end. See, there it is. So based on the method you do, you have to have a certain amount of height, but not too much height, or you hit kill planes that are higher up. It can be complicated. So you figure it out. Argick, unfortunately, having a lot of trouble with the quick kill there. Rouge can be kind of finicky, but thankfully you can do the same thing if you can track Rouge down, which he has. And then I say that, and he immediately disappears. I can see she's hard to find because it's kind of a big arena and she's kind of small. But I can see the time is kind of. Oh, she's dead.
Get away from my emerald.
Totally coming up on the final fight, which it'll be time at the end of this. This fight is, again, follows a trend. Super short if you can do the setup for the quick kill. Otherwise, it takes a long time. This quick kill can be, as you can see, extremely annoying to do. You have to do a set of homing attacks to keep locking onto him. The window is pretty tight for that. You also have to make sure that you don't die from these falling platforms. Totally ending with a 42-20. Don't make any jokes. But yeah, so that's pretty good. It's about 3 minutes off his PB, which is kind of to be expected because it's a marathon. You can't do everything perfectly. As much as we would all like to do perfect runs at every marathon. Or it's not a marathon, it's a tournament. I'd actually like to do perfect runs every time we have a race. Argick not going for either of the crazy gadget skips. So I'm going to do the stage normally. I don't know, there's a pretty cool skip at the end of the stage that you can still do. But there's a bunch of smaller stuff that you get to show off. See, it's the scenic crowd. So, Argick the flame ring, which you don't see when you do crazy gadget skip. Unless you break metal containers, it's used like in this stage alone. But it's used in a lot of places casually. Yep, no second time. I think it's the last time it's ever used. Not a lot to say, just doing spin dashes, there's no movement tech to keep going fast, as is true everywhere. Saving straight to the end here. Casually, this room is supposed to take a long time. But there are a few scripts you can do in order to get out. He's going to go for the most common one, which is the one I do as well. You go spin dash jump, and hop the purple thing, and then you go. The floor is solid on the first part. Well, it's solid on the bottom on the first part, but not the second part of that platform for whatever reason. So you can go through the floor and get to the goal ring.
just made it.
I'm not sure how good 228 is for skipless. I should, because that's what I do. But it's 228 flat, so we're gonna say it's good because that's a round number.
You're no match for me. Weak little fox. All right.
So Argick looks like he's going to get this fight first try. Yeah, there he goes. Nice.
I did it.
There's a certain amount of AI manipulation you can do. I don't know how to do it. I just kind of fib the fight and get good time sometimes. So 19 is not bad. Not bad at all. I've been saying that a lot, I know. But like I said, there have been no really major mistakes that I could classify as bad. For anything that's like super skill, that's like super good. Especially because it's all out of the skill level. Argick commercial taking death at the beginning stage. Well, the beginning stage is pretty easy to mess up. I mean, Tortellini took a death. I often take deaths. Especially when going fast. That's because there's so much going on. So I guess we're not going to be going for final rush step anymore. I unfortunately missed the route that's required to do it. I don't know if he would have done it anyway. I don't. I think his skill level is comparable to mine, so I'm just using myself as a reference. But again, scenic routes. We can show off the cool other parts of the stage. So coming up, we have the second section of the stage, which is just on this huge part of the arc. Like it's like going around it. There's a way to jump on the. You can use that wall run technique I talked about earlier. Just get on the wall and just run up all of it on all three of the walls here. Skip a lot of stage. It's really hard to do. I don't blame Argick not for doing it. Take it nice and easy. Thang can lose a lot of time on the stage. So, I mean, loses a lot of time on all the stages, but this being the last stage and one of the larger stages, it loses a lot more time. It also just feels bad to die in the last stage of the game, you know? Zarga's kind of skipping the main part of the stage by using those ledges. Now you can do gravity bounces off of those, which saves a little bit of time, but it can also kill you. That's a lot of things in the stage do. So, I don't actually know what's on the left there. Casually, that's like the normal route. This is a shortcut, but I've never not taken a shortcut, so I don't know. Even as a kid. And so yeah, it's pretty easy. You can just, even if you miss it, you just do a spin dash and you go straight to it.
Yes!
So I'm finishing up 314. Once again, not bad. Not any huge time losses that I guess other than the one death at the beginning.
Too easy.
But totally had one of those too. So he's gonna be entering up on Shadow 2. Yeah. Yeah, so one of the things that can be hard about that setup is that he just moves as fast as you do, and so you just endlessly homing attack him without actually hitting him. Once you get the rhythm down, it's pretty consistent. Unfortunately, he's consistently getting results, just not the results he wants. He doesn't seem to quite have, I guess, the strat down. He just be spamming homing attacks. But it's hard to get down, especially at the beginning. I definitely have troubles with it too. He only has one hit left, so he may just decide to go for the teleport bot. Alright, so Argick ending with, unfortunately not sub 50. It is sub 51 though. I don't remember exactly how that compares to... Wait, I can just look it up.
Sonic, I did it.
Well, on the leaderboard, Argick's only submitted runs 59 minutes. So it is technically a PB for him, by a significant amount.
Sonic!
I don't know if he's had some better runs in his other races. Or if he's like this something offline that he hasn't submitted yet, but get hype. Alright, so that is this race. I'm on percent. I'll be setting off shortly. There's another race that's coming up at... What's today, the 11th? Next race will be starting at 4. Some of the schedule was 3:30, but I see in the chat that they've been asked to just be a little bit later. And that will be mrtortelliniboi versus Bivlosh. And hopefully I will see you guys there.